Good evening and welcome to this week's News Links for a brand new episode with a brand new panel. Join us for the next hour of chit chat and fun, all on this week's Loose. Good evening and welcome to this week's Loose Links. Joining me on the panel, Nicholas James, is Liza Humphrey.
Hi.
Josie Reed. And Rachel Penny. As we talk about GCSEs in the year of 2023, and are they really important and still necessary? We've got lots to talk about that on the panel. Also, in news this week, it's been about cheating again. In news this week, a partner has cheated on somebody, but it got us talking about, could you ever forgive a cheater and move on? And we finish in the land of porn, as we've got lots to talk about this week on porn, and is it really healthy for our young people to see it? All that and a lot more on this week's Loose. Good evening, panel.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back, Rachel. It's good to see you back on screen. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Liza, new to the panel. How are you feeling?
Okay, slightly nervous but excited.
You'll be absolutely fine. And Josie, it's been a while since we've seen you. How are you?
Yeah, I've just been defrosting, I guess, from when you put me in the freezer after last time.
Please don't believe her. please don't believe her. We've got lots to talk about this week, panel, so we'll get straight onto it. So, exam results have finally happened. Well done to every single person out there that's been through it. If you got good results or bad, you've tried your hardest. Well done. But if your exam results do not give you the way that you want them to give you, there is still hope for a bright future. 3 people who are in the situation recently who are now thriving in spite having been told those results wasn't good enough. Luke Chapman says he spent most of his school life at the back of the class cracking jokes. Oh, I like him already. He says he's got in with the wrong crowd and became more disruptive as his worsening behaviour carried on. But this, without going into the whole story, because it's not, I don't want to really centre it on him, and we can't legally talk about him, but it did get me thinking about GCSE results and the pressure of GCSE. Do you think that we put way too much pressure on our young people and grades nowadays? Do you think we're putting too much pressure on our kids? Let's go to you first, Josie. What do you think? Oh, sorry, Rach. Go on, jump in.
I think that there can be a lot of pressure, but equally, I think a little bit of pressure doesn't do any harm. It stands you in good stead for life. It's life skills that, and pressure is part of life. But I think schools have got so many targets these days, and trying to push the children to excel in absolutely everything, you sometimes miss what that child is really good at. And it takes either a really good teacher or a good parent to kind of steer that child into a world of confidence, because I think if you give a child confidence, they can do anything, and give them a confidence to be themselves. But I never worried at all at school. I just breezed through it. I was thick as anything, but I breezed through it and got very well. But it didn't hurt me. It didn't ruin. I didn't get any real outstanding academic achievement, but I got. I built lots of friendships. I had social skills, and sometimes children, young men and women, they come out of school or education with no social skills at all, but loads of academic results. So I think it takes It can be a lot of pressure, but it's how it's balanced out, I believe.
Do you agree, James?
I agree in the sense that it prepares you for life, because it teaches you that none of it really matters or is important, or is useful in any way. School's supposed to prepare you for like the working world. I've never ever had a job or even an interview where they've cared at all about my GCSEs. I don't think we had the same experience of school, Rachel. I definitely didn't breeze through. Wasn't academically minded beyond primary school. But I don't think I ever had a day that went without bullying. So it's like school was sort of tainted for me anyway. So I never really got a chance to properly learn. But no, I hated school. The whole system's screwed up. I work in ed tech now. So work very closely looking at like the DFE regulation, and it's so screwed up. Nothing makes any sense. They're backwards. They're learning from old materials. They're teaching kids to pass tests as opposed to actually learn and understand the world around them. It's mental. So no, it doesn't matter. If you've got bad GCSEs, who cares? Just you and your friends right now, that's all they'll care. Like in the working world, they'll look at experience, and
You know,
personality and character
I
more.
completely agree, and you've taken the words right out of my mouth, Joseph, because I was literally going to say this evening, there's been not one job that I've been in, and I've worked since the age of 16. There's not one job that I've been in that's asked for GCSE results. Now, I am being very, very careful on what we say on GCSEs tonight, because I don't want young people to think, well, it's not really important then. Why am I studying to the hard degree? But actually, the last 2 years of my schooling life was massive pressure about what results I was going to have and how much I needed to study and this, that, and the other. And not one job, you're completely correct, not one job has asked to see my GCSE results. So it did make me think about, yes,
Yeah, but
go on,
they do look at your CV before you walk in. And although they probably don't say look at and stipulate which GCSE you've got qualification in, they see that you actually attended school. You've got decent, attentive type of mind to achieve something. Your achievement, not necessarily the actual subject, unless you're going for something that actually is critical for that. But with Josie's schooling, I'm 58. So my schooling was probably a totally different era, and it was more about, I don't know, I quite enjoyed school, primary school anyway, but totally different era now, and it's I quite understand it. There's a lot of bullying, but a lot of children are brought up different pressures at home as well now. So you know, and there's a lot of technology now involved. So you're able to socially accept others by play, with play. Now it's very insular, very closed off, behind four walls, in a bedroom, on your own. And the social aspect is so different. And when you take that into the workplace, it makes life very, very difficult. It's a different world from when I was a kid.
What do you think, Liza?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trouble with schools and tests, they forget that all these children are different and they all learn at different rates. And you've got children that learn academically, and there's children that are more hands-on, and they expect them all to be at this certain level. You know, on paperwork, oh, they're this age, they need to be here. And that's not the case. So those children that aren't at that level have got so much pressure on them. And I always, well, you know, from working in a school, I always found that so difficult when they were like, well, that child is 7, they should be doing this.
Yeah,
You know, all children learn. But yeah, when it comes to GCSEs, I can remember for me, I was fantastic at English. Maths, oh, it was horrendous. And I failed maths. I got a U.
It's good that
And
you can laugh about it, though. It's good that you can smile about it.
I
But,
did.
you know,
I got a U. But do you know what? Never affected my job. Never affected me getting a job.
No. And do you think, you know, when going back to COVID, so going back to 2020, when exams were cancelled, and actually it was based on coursework and it was based on what you had learnt in the classroom, and a grade was
That's better.
yeah. Do you think actually that's the way forward now? Do you think actually examining a child at the end
I
of
think
it
so.
to get a grade, because they might be
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic in the subject, but when it comes to exam conditions or sitting in
Yeah.
silence in a room and doing an exam,
Blank.
and you've only got one chance.
Yeah.
You've only got that one chance to sit
Yeah.
that exam. Do you think we
Exactly.
need to be thinking about testing children in very different ways now? Like examining children goes back years, doesn't it? We haven't changed the system at all in
No.
how we
No.
judge somebody. Do you think COVID has opened our eyes in that sort of
I definitely think so, and I think it should be like a certain amount of it should be coursework, because it's true. You get people that will walk into their exam and forget their name. They're that stressed, you know, and like you say, but doing their you know, their work is amazing. But exams, walk into an exam environment, yeah, it needs to change, definitely 100%. And I hopefully COVID has opened their eyes to it. But they are so strict on wanting to test, and they're testing from 4 years upwards. So the stress is on a child from 4 years all the way through to when they leave school.
It's hard,
You
isn't it?
know?
And they do say, so let's go to you, Rachel. They do say that school days are supposed to be, Josie, you've just said completely different opposite opinion to Rachel about your school days, but they're supposed to say that school days are supposed to be the best days of your life. Rachel, do you think your schooling days were the best days of your life?
Yeah, because they were my time, because I don't know, it was school life was, it wasn't as pressurized, it wasn't as difficult as it is when my children went to school. For example, I was in the time when it was CSE, not GCSE, and I never had any pressure at home. I was just told, do your best, do what you can, and that was it. And if you need any help, it was always there. But I was playing TIG around the garages and things like that, and I had no stress. I just had no stress at home, had no pressure at home. Do as best you can, because it doesn't matter how much pressure you put on a child, they're not going to do well if you pressurize them. And as Josie said, bullying. My son was bullied, and that took a lot of his confidence away. And when you take confidence away, as I say, you have to build around their confidence of what they're confident at doing. And if I told my children they could do anything and made them believe it, they'd do it. So, but I don't believe everybody's academically. You could take a child into an exam; they all do the same paper, but they might not be as academic as each other. And then there's the competition, but you can't mollycoddle children all the time, because otherwise they haven't got any skills to face the outside world where there's nobody there to protect and save them.
Do you think, though, that we are, Josie, let's come to you. Do you think that we are really like I've had a conversation with an older generation this evening about their schooling days and about when they went to school, and they learned so much at school. They learned the basic art of cooking, of cleaning, of fixing stuff, of sewing and knitting and all of that. I can't remember any of that at school. There was nothing like that at school. Yeah, there was cooking, but it was always like biscuits or cakes, or it was never like a traditional, right, this is how you cook meat and this is how you do like a Sunday. I learned that later on in life. Do you think schooling has completely changed years ago? When here's me saying now, Josie, that actually schools should change the system. But when it comes to basic skills, do you think we need to go back a couple of generations?
Well, I can only answer that with the knowledge that I haven't been in the previous school system. So I actually don't have any first-hand experience of what school was like. I only have what people say it was like. But no, we didn't learn any home ec. We didn't learn what taxes were. We didn't learn what national insurance was, or how to budget, how to work out how to balance your rent and your bills. None of that. Not a lot about Pythagoras, and Lord of the Flies, but that's about it. I mean, that one was maybe partially useful because it's sort of what life is turning into at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if back is the right step. It has to move forward. There are definitely maybe things you can take as inspiration from the past, but going back to an old education system in a new world seems absurd to me. It has to go forward. There are jobs that we're trying to train people for that couldn't be conceived of 10 years ago, let alone 20, 30. I mean, I'm in a job now that didn't exist when I was at school. So like the world changes so fast. I think we just got to develop. But but our government aren't really interested in that, and
No.
the DfE are strangled to within an inch of their lives and can't do anything. Like to the point where, as we speak right now, if I'm not mistaken, and last time I checked was a couple of weeks ago, Black British is not a category of ethnicity on the school censuses yet.
Why?
Like that's how backwards the DfE is. They're just ahead in the past. 3% of our population not accounted for at all. It's but that's the sort of thing that we're dealing with in terms of like a systemic slowness. So moving forward, ideally, in an ideal world, is the right answer. But I mean, in an ideal world, people don't fart in cups, and the DfE would be able to move forward. But right now, they've not got the resources. So, sort of a moot point.
Thank you for sharing that, though. I didn't even know that. But panel, I'm sure we've got lots to talk about on that, and I'm sure it'll come back up as it always does. But we move on to rudeness. Waitress dismissed as customer rights fuming message on the bill over rude act. A waitress was shocked after an angry customer scribbled a message for her on her bill for his meal and claimed that she had been rude to him and his wife, so they would not give a tip. The waitress was left shocked after the angry customer who had eaten at the restaurant she worked in with his wife scribbled an angry message on the bill and refused to tip her because of the rudeness. The waitress worked in the US and served the older man and his wife, who looked younger. I don't know why that's important, and had found the message written on a black pen while taking payment. But that did get me thinking about rudeness and even customer service out there nowadays. Do you think rudeness can be confused with an opinion? Let's go to you first, Liza.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I mean, nowadays you've got to be so careful, haven't you, really? what you say.
Yeah.
I was trying to. I thought of something earlier, and then it went out of my head. There was something. There was something I said the other day, and it was.
I think
and
opinions
it
can be rude. Sometimes it's not your place to make a judgment or an opinion, especially if you're a waitress. But the thing is that lady could have been equally as offended if she had not been asked if she was in a prepared or in a place to pay the bill. She could have been an outright feminist who wanted to be classed as an equal. You've got to be careful. So there's ways of just asking, just by saying, how would you like to pay the bill now? Look at both of them and say, how would you like to pay? And then just judge the room, as it was, judge the situation. But people get offended at everything these days, you know. Just I don't know. I just find it peculiar. People are peculiar.
Do you think though, when it comes to even tipping nowadays, that there's almost from hospitality, there's almost like an expectation on how much you should tip, and if you don't tip to the expectation, like it's really hard. You know, I've been in a restaurant before, and I went out for a meal with somebody the other week, and they tipped £8. Well, I thought £8 is far too much. I wouldn't tip £8 at all. I may tip a £5, but do you think there's an expectation, especially with the cost of living as well nowadays? Do you think there's a higher expectation to tip, and that you should, and it's rude not to tip?
I don't think tipping's the issue. Correct me if I'm wrong. This person, the man, found it rude because the waitress came to the table and asked if they'd like to split the bill. Am I wrong? Is that
No? You're not wrong. That is correct.
okay? So tipping isn't the problem here. Misogyny is. So what this situation is it's an older man, which is relevant because he sees both age and masculinity as a power. And therefore he gets to assert his dominance over this whatever relationship it is by being the provider, being the payee personally. So he just assumes that he's going to do that because that's his job in his role as the man. And he he is offended because as he sees it, masculinity has been challenged because she might be able to pay for half of it herself because she's an adult who has a job. It's stupid, and it's an old gentleman, which makes me laugh as well because the amount of times my generation and younger get called entitled is hilarious, because we are not the ones that have ever been called Karens, which is really funny. And I don't think it's necessarily true to say that we get offended more easily nowadays, and it's not like hard not to offend people. I think just be a good person and know that you're going to be held accountable if you make a mistake.
Yeah, people can also find the most silly little thing to be offended by that you wouldn't normally be offended if you were being kind. And if I was that waitress, I'd have gone and taken the receipt back and said, "There's your receipt. Would you like your daughter to go with her?"
Say that last bit again. Sorry, I didn't hear.
We missed that, right? Say it again. Honestly, you went out.
I'd have probably got a little bit annoyed if he'd written that on the till receipt after I'd taken it back, and I'd taken him the bill receipt back and said, "There you go. Would you like your daughter to take it home with her?" Something like that. But it is, you know, people can be rude, blatantly rude, and he could have possibly just said something to her if he was annoyed by that. But I think, quite honestly, you don't get to see that very often because I think waitresses, on a whole, are trained quite well. You know, it's my opinion. That's all. But I wouldn't get offended. I just, you know, people want to, some people want to split the bill, some people don't. But there are ways of just asking, just how would you like to split? How would you like the bill to be paid? Are you ready for your bill yet?
It's a pretty standard question now, though, isn't it? Like, would you like to split the bill? Because when
Yeah,
people
people
go,
do.
most people now do. So it's really easy to say, "Oh no, it's okay. I've got this," and that even plays into his like dynamic in his head if he wants to do that, because he gets to be knight in shining armor, which is gross in its own way. But like, it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. Like,
But
do you want to split
just
the bill?
going back
Oh
to
no, I'm
your
paying. Thanks.
But going back to your masculinity, the masculinity, no, not your masculinity. Sorry, I didn't mean to
It's
say
funny.
that. Going
It's just
back
a
to your,
funny
going back
choice of
to,
words.
back to your masculinity comment. It's come to me there. And ladies, please shoot me down here if you think I'm wrong. But as we're in the year of 2023. I hear more and more about women wanting the same rights as men, wanting the same pay grade, fighting for women's rights, fighting to be up just as equal as men. But on the other side of the coin, women still like a door open for them.
No,
Women still like a man to propose. Women still like stuff like that. So do you think that it's 50-50? Do you think the old fashioned, if we're going for women's rights and we're talking just as being as equal as men, do you think those old fashioned ways need to go out the window now?
No, because that's a man being a gentleman.
it's human being polite. I don't think you have to be a man to hold the door open. I think that's mental. But like Gen Zers in particular, I'm so impressed by Gen Z. And seeing what they do.
Who's Gen
Yeah,
Z?
younger than millennials.
Oh well, that's way out of my zone.
Different language here.
Say it again.
Different language here. Old folk here.
Okay, so I guess millennials grew up around the turn of the millennium. So
I know
I
what
was
millennial is, yeah.
yeah. So Gen Z comes after that, and then Gen Alpha are the ones at school now. So Gen Z are like it's quite a large age range, but they're roughly like 18-ish at the moment.
No, okay.
And generally they don't seem to care like about the chivalry stuff. Like the whole it's meant to like pulling a chair out for someone or opening the door. That's just being polite. Why have we assigned gender and chivalry to that? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Because we are of a different age group. Me and Liza and I, I think if I can do a job exactly the same as a man, get paid for it. If I can't and I don't come up with the goods, I shouldn't do. Fair and square.
Yeah.
But romanticizing a relationship or wanting a man to hold the door open for me, I'd expect if I was walking through a door and there was a woman in front of me, I would say it was rude if she didn't hold the door while I was coming through it. Just because she's a woman, she would. That's politeness, as Josie says. But people do that. But you don't get people like what I was brought up like. If we're walking down the street, the man stepped on the outside near the road.
Yeah.
Why? Because you wouldn't want him to be cleaned up and just be wiped out by the brook. But it's the kind of like and usually preserved there next to the hedge. But it's just something that happens. It's like an unwritten little rule that I brought up with. Men were more chivalrous and looked after the woman. But yeah, it's right. We want it both ways sometimes. Some women that want it both ways. They want it every way.
And I think
that's said, it is basic politeness.
I think that's what I was going on at, Rachel. So I'm not here to personally talk about your love life, but say like you've got somebody amazing in your life that you absolutely love and adore. Would you propose? Would you get down on one knee and ask them to marry you? Or would you expect that man to do it?
No, I think the whole knee bit is a bit. Anyway,
so just a
bit. It's more like, go on then. I'll go on then.
don't like getting on your knees for someone.
I'm better on all fours and on my back, so I've got a bad back. I've always said that. So I'm usually on my knees all the time, but not for that particular reason.
Let's go back to the waitress. Would you ever send? So we've all gone out for dinner. The four of us have gone out for dinner. And Liza, let's go to you again first. Your dinner comes out and it's cold, or there's something wrong with it, or would you necessarily send something back if you were paying for something and you wasn't happy?
No, I'm terrible. I don't like making a fuss in restaurants and things like that. So no, I'll just carry on.
Really? Even though that you've gone out and maybe spent, because again, the cost of living, everything's getting bloody expensive nowadays, isn't it? So to go out for a meal for the night, you're spending well over 20 quid. Would you, if you really wasn't happy with it, would you sit there and still eat it, even though that you paid for it?
Yeah, I just don't like
Would
making
ya?
you funny. I just feel like, oh gosh, I don't know. And then I don't know, I suppose I have this thing that if they took it back and gave me another one, the chef might spit in me.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. What about you, Josie? Now, I couldn't see you, Josie, sitting there if you was not happy at all at a restaurant, not saying a word. I'll be very, very shocked if you go, oh, no, I
You don't know me very well at all, Dad. I'll just sit there and cry. That's fine. I've got a partner to deal with confrontation. That's what they're there for.
But do you think it's important to make people aware that what you've paid for isn't good enough?
It's the isn't good enough bit thing. If something is outright wrong, then yeah, I'll ask my partner to mention it. Like if I've been given the wrong thing, or if they've said something's vegan, like as an example, and it's not, then I can't eat it. But no, if it's just like if I'm not keen on it, no, like I chose it. It's a risky take.
What about you, Miss Penny? Would you send something back if you wasn't happy with it?
If I was very, very unhappy, I'd have to mention something that might like that. I'd be worried what to do to it when they took it back into the kitchen. But if they asked me at the end, was everything okay? I'd have to, if it was poor, I'd have to say something. And the situation wasn't resolved in as much as giving me something off the bill or to make it satisfactory so I could walk out and feel okay that I paid for something. If they didn't do that, I would never go back again. I'd make sure they realised.
Wow. Well, I think I would. I think I would send stuff back. But when it comes to being a good person and having good morals and being polite and kind and nice, do you think that comes from childhood? Do you think we learn all that from childhood? And do you think when a person can come across as nasty and can come across as not a very nice person, that we shouldn't really be looking at the individual, but we need to be looking at the whole picture? Do you think that's really important in life? I'm testing you all this evening, aren't I? Really testing you all having to think about this.
I think it depends, because I've known some amazing parents who have brought their children up absolutely wonderful, and they've got to the stage where they've hung out with some horrible people and they've changed and they've turned into horrible young adults and it's because they've hung out with, so sometimes they can be brought up with manners and you've seen them as lovely children, sort of lovely growing up, but it's who they've hung out with and who they've seemed to have moved through life with. So sometimes it's who the crowd they're with.
Do you think manners are still really important, Rach? Is manners something you still pick up on big time? Is it still big?
It is. I think rudeness and nasty doesn't get you anywhere, really. And there is that nature and nurture, but I think if somebody does, like I said, somebody just got with a wrong crowd, they get influenced, and but I don't think it is. Parents have a very difficult job. I think steering the children clear of any wrongdoing. But I do think that a child, adult, and how they grow up to be, I think there are outside influences, definitely, but I do think that basic manners are taught at home. You know right from wrong.
Yeah.
And I would never get it. I would never dream of being rude or nasty to anybody, and without any consequences. But yeah.
Definitely. Well, moving on slightly, we're going on to a relationship topic, as it's been in the news this week, believe it or not, that a man was left disgusted after he found out his wife of 6 years had been cheating on him. But he had the last laugh, posting online. Hold on, can't turn the paper over. Posting online anonymously, the man explained that she had been having an affair with a co-worker. After finding this out, he instantly started to progress to divorce his wife and is now single. Since the cheat of their marriage, his ex-wife has started dating the man that she was having an affair with. When he found out the news, he began thinking about ways he could make their lives unbearable. Couples worse without it being traced back to him. So he's been trying to do things online and post up and talk about them without it being related back to him in any sort of way. Panel, a really controversial question for you all now, and everybody's going to have a difference of an opinion on here. But Rachel, I'm coming to you first. Could you ever forgive a cheater?
I don't know. You have to have that experience to answer that. Depends what level of cheating, what will actually happen, what you class as cheating, because some people class it, you know, talking to a co-worker a little bit too closely, or online with somebody, or not telling the partner that you've been talking to behind the back, or actually full-blown sex with somebody else.
Do you think flirting is cheating?
I think most women flirt. I don't know about men because I'm not one. But I think everybody, all humans like to, I suppose, like to be attracted, or be attractive to the other sex, even if it's not outright flirting. Why does this? I suppose this is putting me on the spot. Why does a woman put lipstick on? She wants to look nice, not just to attract a man, but to feel good about herself. And men do as well, to a certain degree. And not all men, not all women, but I don't put lipstick on to so that people.
Do you know where lipstick comes from?
Good God. Oh, don't start that, because don't start that one. Oh my goodness. This face has to have something, Josie. Don't ruin it, please.
Oh, no. I wear makeup all the time. Not today, obviously, because I needed to not get ID'd. Because I didn't have. So if I wear makeup, I get ID'd, and I needed to look as old as I am. So I tend not to wear makeup. I need to. But no, putting red on your lips is supposed to simulate the blood rushing to your extremities when you're aroused. And it was used for street workers.
Oh, thanks for that.
The old times.
That out.
Yeah,
it's not red, actually. Is it red?
Yeah, the more you know.
Rachel, are you sitting comfortably?
Oh, right. Right. Well,
that's just a little interesting fact. It's not. I wear makeup all the time, so it's not
well, don't wear a fur coat. You know what to say about that as well, don't you?
a pimp.
Fair.
Google that one. Liza knows. But no, I'm not going to be found on any street corner anytime soon.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Do you think with
It's
the lack
kind
of social media, like I was watching on a debate show. I won't say what show it is, but I was watching on a debate show this week that would you mind your partner going on social media and liking the opposite sex to them? So for example, a man goes on social media and likes quite a lot of girls' posts in bikinis and in model shots and stuff like that. Do you think that's right? Or would you honestly, this is a proper discussion that happened.
I know it's so silly.
But do you think that would you be well,
No.
no, that's not cheating, but would you be jealous of that? Would you?
No, the insecurity that question on its own shows is telling. No, me and my partner will. Well, I say that my partner is ace, so doesn't experience sexual attraction. So I will show them someone I find attractive, and they'll be like, yeah, maybe, because they don't have the same like thing going on in their brain. But we talk about people. I don't think they care at all that I like models' pictures on Instagram. We're human beings and we have like wants and needs and stuff. I think for us anyway, the key is communication. As long as we communicate our boundaries clearly, know where each of us stand on what we. Because I think Rachel, you mentioned before, like what's cheating is different depending on the relationship. I've been in relationships where accidentally looking in the vague direction of someone of the sex that you're interested in sexually is classed as cheating. And I've been in relationships where like kissing is fine, like especially if you can get a free drink out of it. Like it just depends who you're with.
No, I don't agree with you.
That's fine. You're allowed not to agree with me, but
I don't agree.
You can't say someone's not cheating if they've got their. Yeah, but that's your relation. That's what I'm saying. Like Rachel was right. It's completely subjective. Cheating is whatever you make it.
The way I've been brought up. Do you think sex?
No.
Do you think
not necessarily? It's going to be so many different. Honestly, it's going to be so many different factors, Nick. There's going to be, there's going to be your bringing up in there. There's also going to be your experiences, like as an adult, your experiences in relationships, what insecurities you've got from that, because we all take different baggage from different relationships, good or bad. So it'll be to do with all those sorts of things, and then there's the added like layer of whether or not you're monogamous or polyamorous or something, because that can feed into it. Because actually in polyamorous relationships, it might be that the boundaries are different. And you go in knowing that. So it's just about being very clear with your communication, I think.
Do you think sex and relationships are changing though? Do you think when we talked about a relationship years ago, like when I think about my grandma and granddad, till death do us part was really till death do us part. They had argument after argument. They didn't. At the end of it, they slept in separate bedrooms. There wasn't really a couple at all. The only time I ever saw them kiss is at the top of the stairs when they said goodnight and they went off in the separate bedrooms. But do you think nowadays we need to be a bit more fluid when we talk about relationships and sex? Do you think it's in the year of 2023? Do you think we need to be a bit more fluid, like we are fluid with gender? Do you think we need to be a bit more fluid with sex?
Yeah, there is something that comes up a little bit, I think, that you've touched on there with your grandparents, like till death us do part. That mentality has shifted, namely because we're moving away, at least we're trying to move away from a patriarchal society, right? It was 1975 when a woman was allowed to open up a bank account on her own in most banks in England. 75. That's without anyone else present or a man present. That's so if you couldn't leave your husband because you'd be on your own. So there's all sorts of factors at play here. But I mean, society, the way we treat sex and relationship changes anyway. Like if you go back far enough, it goes right back around to be more liberal than we are now. Look at Greece and in ancient Rome. In Rome there was a system where if you're a man, a woman was for making babies with, a man was for having fun with. Like the way we see sex is changed drastically and will continue to change back and forth, spiraling between liberal and conservative, back and forth all the way through time until we've killed ourselves.
What do you think though, Liza? Do you think you could be in a relationship in the year of 2023 that sex is a bit more fluid?
No.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were. But if I'm honest, even though I'm classed, well, I'm not classed as a young generation. I was going to try and get away with it then, but I really am not classed as a young generation. But I am still very old school. And believe me, I have been in a relationship that was open. I have experienced a relationship that has been an open relationship. And you have never seen such a jealous Nick in all your life. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't do it. Like when he didn't live with me and he was in a different town and a different house and all of that, I could cope with it. But as soon as it was us together and he was chatting other people up at the bar and he was flirting and he was kissing, I couldn't. It's still embedded in me deep inside that that's cheating, and I can't get over. And even though I had the option of going out and enjoying myself, it wasn't just him enjoying himself. I couldn't stop it, Josie. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. Could you do it, Rachel Penny?
What? Do what? What bit would I do?
Could you be in a fluent relationship? Would you mind if your husband went off sleeping with other people as well as sleeping with you?
Oh God, no. I'd have to a caustic bath when he got home. I think quite honestly, if the respect is lost within a relationship, I think if you lost the respect of somebody, or either they've done something like that, or they've lost respect for themselves and they've changed the way they are. Because if you're married for a long, long time, changes do happen, changes do occur.
Yeah.
And you change the way you talk to each other, and it can happen like that. Like once the respect is lost, then people do look for other things that lack in their relationship.
Do you mind if I just very quickly jump in? Just to be very clear, just because the world is changing and relationships are changing and sex is becoming more open, doesn't mean you're not allowed to be in a monogamous relationship and have it quite closed off. Like that's okay. Like Nick, you were talking about being in a relationship, clearly wasn't right for you.
No.
Doesn't mean it's not right for the people.
No.
I just think it's an interesting idea that the society, particularly Western society anyway, is built for one mindset, which is, as a mindset on its own, is fine. And actually, all three of you are well within your rights to see flirting as cheating if you want to. If you've set those boundaries within your relationships and communicated those, then that's fine. Because, like you said, trust and respect is really important. If you set a boundary and the person you're with has crossed that, then it doesn't matter whether that's because of cheating or bullying or, I don't know, leaving the toilet seat up, like whatever you have decided is like the boundary in your relationship. Like it's important to have someone that respects you. But yeah, just want to be clear, like you're allowed the kinds of relationships you're talking with. We're not trying to ditch them entirely.
There's extremes though, isn't there, of like flirting, whether it's like smiling at somebody because you walk a room and do you feel good about yourself, or flirting where you take it too far, where you give the wrong signal, and then man or woman comes on to the other person, and then it's pushed away, and you know, and I think that can be light flirting or
Yeah.
stronger flirting. It depends what you want out of that flirt. But
Intention is really key there, isn't it?
it is, yeah. And I couldn't just rely on his lipstick to get me anywhere.
With the red lips.
I'd need a Hessian bag.
But the thing is, Josie, you are completely right, because
I usually am.
because it was 2019, that relationship for me, and we are back in communication again. And do you know what? He's a friend now. He's a friend. I don't find him attractive at all. But sorry if you're watching. But he is now in a relationship that is very open. And he's getting married, and he's more than happy. What I learned is it just wasn't for me, but clearly it's right for him. So you are right in saying that, Joseph, completely. That actually it depends on the person to how comfortable and how far.
Yeah, and that can change. That can always change. I used to be extremely monogamous, and I think in my relationship itself, I am. But I've just spent a whole weekend with my partner, their other partner, and that partner's other partner. We went to the beach together and had a barbecue and stuff, and it was all fine. Like yeah. I didn't expect that, if I'm honest, but it was a lot of fun.
I don't understand why you get married then if you're in a relationship.
Well, we also don't think marriage is as important.
Yeah, but Nick was saying his friend is getting married and he still has no relationship. What is the point of getting married then? What does the marriage do?
Because the marriage is like a declaration of love, isn't it? Like, love isn't it? And some people don't think that they want to limit the love they have to one person. It might be that it sounds like in that situation, Nick's friend is marrying their what we would call primary, so the person they would with the longest and have the deepest connection with. But it's just what they need. Like, sex and love are very different things to a lot of people. I think most people tend to have them interlinked. I know I do. For example, I don't think I'd be very good at a one-night stand, or sleeping with someone I wasn't in a relationship with. So I wouldn't have another partner, as an example, because I don't think I could handle the admin, let alone the emotional side of things. But it's not the same for everyone. Not everyone sees sex and relationship as quite so interlinked.
It seems to be like sex and love are two things, but it seems like you're married and then find what basically don't you?
It's different, isn't it? I suppose it's different. It's a different, and as I can't really answer. Well, Josie, you've answered that fantastically, but because he's not on the panel, I can't go right. Tell us about your relationship. But he's very happy, and that's all I can say. But moving on, let's move on. We've had a parent in news this week saying that she's 25 and single. People get confused when I explain I am never having kids. So we're talking about the dating world again. A single 25-year-old woman has been recommended as sharing on her social media that she's not interested in having children, and she's looking more on her career. She's 25 years old, she states, and she has no plans of settling down with a family at this stage in her life. Do you think it's a lot of pressure for women to have children? Do you think women that don't have children are like, there's loads of women friendship groups nowadays, isn't there? And I talk to my sister. My sister's a single woman who's had a child, and she has a lot of girlfriends that have had children, but there's been one friend in the group that's decided not to have kids. She says it's not off the books forever, but she's decided not to have kids. But she says she gets a hell of a lot of pressure of people stating, why haven't you had children yet? Why haven't you thought about children? Do you think there's a lot of pressure on women to have kids? Liza, let's go to you. You've been very quiet. Do you think it's a huge pressure?
Yeah, for some reason, I do think people always seem to ask them, don't they? You know, they're always like, when are you going to have one? Or when are you, you know, and it's awful for the ones that can't.
Definitely.
You know, there's a lot of people out there that can't, you know, and they've been married a certain amount. When are you having one? But let alone for the people, and then the ones that say, because I don't want to yet, or we don't want to. I mean, my brother and his wife chose not to have children. You know, my brother's 58 now. They chose not to have children. They wanted horses instead.
There's a difference there, isn't there? Children or horses. There's a different option there. Rachel, have you ever felt the pressure as a woman to have children in your younger days? Did you ever have any pressure from any friends or family members to say, right, Rachel, it's now time to settle down and have children?
No, I thought I wanted children. I wanted like a normal family, 2.4 children or whatever that is, be married and settle down. But I think it's quite shocking. You ask a woman if she wants children, and I would never ask that. But if you hear a woman say, "No, I don't want children," you look at her and think, "Oh my God, she's not a nice, cuddly, pleasant human being that wants." What's wrong with the woman? No, she's honest. She's honest and saying that it would be a mistake for her to have a child at the moment. Or she wants to put a career first. It's not everybody's preference. Just because you're a woman that you can actually carry a child doesn't mean to say that you have to. You know, but you hear a woman say that, everybody around her automatically thinks that, oh God, she's a child hater.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, I love my own children, but it's not everybody's child that you warm to. You don't have to be a child lover to have your own children either. But I think she's being honest and putting herself first. And if she's not a happy person, she wouldn't be or naturally a happy mother. So no, it's not always it doesn't have to be the natural way to go to have children.
But Josie, do you think in this day and age and in this year that there's a lot of pressure for women to decide either career or children?
Yeah.
All right, that's the end of my.
Well, it's just one of those things that's quite deep if you're gonna really get into it, isn't it? Because it comes from that attitude of that's what a woman's for. What good is a woman if she's not gonna have kids? Because that's the attitude,
Yeah.
which is archaic and stupid. Because actually, women are brilliant and smart and creative and you know, intelligent and inspired and can do all sorts of incredible things. Having a baby is just one of them.
But do you think women are frowned upon for not having, for not?
Yeah,
do you think that Stone Age 4 is still there within us today?
Yeah.
That's shocking,
it's getting less and less. Like, I don't think millennials don't tend to ask that sort of question very often. Like, oh, are you going to have kids on the horizon? Are you planning on kids? Gen Zers will never ask that. It's changing generationally, but we're more aware of stuff though now, aren't we? We've got the internet now, so we're connected with literally every other human being on the planet. So we understand a bit more now that actually carrying a child is not that easy for some women, and some women it never happened for. Some women just actively don't want to have kids. I would rather be kicked in the face by a horse 20 times than have a kid come anywhere near me, frankly. The fact that I put up with my niece just because I love her is I deserve a medal every time. Love her to bits, but I just don't do kids. But that's okay.
Yeah. And the thing is,
when I'm growing up, it felt like being kicked in the face 20 times. Sometimes when they used to come home, you know, it's hard work.
Yeah.
Not just giving birth to them. It's the rest of their lives and your life got them. And the rules of
100%.
the road.
And I think we've got to be like, we've got to be very careful when we think about talking and saying to. I would never ever say to any woman at any years old, why haven't you thought about having children? Look, it's abnormal that you don't have kids. Look at everybody around you, everybody's having kids, because actually you don't know that person's journey about children or trying to be pregnant, or what if they've tried for years and years and actually you're a constant reminder that they haven't got children. And I just think that we've got to tread very, very carefully. And I find it ridiculous. I think the world is changing when it comes to women and careers. And I think that we are looking as businesses to support that woman as much as we possibly can, so she can be a mother as well as a career woman. I find it obscene that a woman has to think about, do I either work my way up in this chain in the company, or do I stop because I want to be a mother and have children? I just think that's ridiculous to even think like that. But talking about making children, we finish on our last topic, guys, this evening, which is all about porn. Now, we've got somebody here on the panel this evening that is on the site of OnlyFans. So we are going to briefly talk to them about what OnlyFans is like and what's it out there to entail. So, Rachel, how is OnlyFans?
What? Good God. I was looking at all you three and I thought, which one is likely?
Oh, come off it.
Likely. Which one is likely to do OnlyFans? Josie Rees, you haven't been on for a while, as you stated to us at the beginning of the night. But tell us what OnlyFans is all about.
Well, it's not exclusively for porn. It's just porn creators or adult creators have made the platform what it is. It's a platform where you can create an account and regular content and either charge people a fee to view specific posts or a fee for like a subscription. So you pay so much a month and you know that the user that you're subscribing to will post so much content. Yeah, it's used by streamers and shops and all sorts of places, but generally speaking, it's associated with sex work. Yeah.
But what's the? Because I've never been on it, and I'm never going to be on it. But again, that's the person, isn't it? But what's the difference between finding it free on the internet and going directly to somebody's page to pay them to
supporting
watch
the artist?
Support it. So
yeah.
Would you say it's porn? Would you say
it's ethical porn? That's the idea, is that it's creating an ethical porn where everyone's accountable. Like, you're creating your own stuff, so you're not subject to a producer or a director or anything like that. You're doing only the stuff that you're comfortable with because it's you doing it, and you get all of the proceeds from it. Like, you're not being paid to be in a film and then that's it, you're done. Like, you earn your own money. It's like the difference between finding like a small indie band you really like and just listening to them on YouTube for free all the time. It's not really going to help them. But if you buy their music, if you go to their gigs, that's going to help them. It puts money on the table and they can then continue doing what they like to do.
Do you think in the world of, because when I was little and my parents would talk to me about it, which was very rare, can I tell you, because I used to run as fast as I could as soon as I started.
I just thought it was odd that they gave you recommendations for sites.
No, but the thing is, we're always telling our children, aren't we, that actually when you watch porn, please don't see that as a reality of sex, because it's extreme. Porn can be extreme, and what when I was a child, I was always told that don't expect everything that you see on a screen will happen in a bedroom with a partner, because it could be different limits and different. But do you think when it comes to OnlyFans and to porn on the internet, Josie, do you think actually for young people to understand sex and proper sex, and that it would be a better site to look on OnlyFans to explore there than maybe to go on the extreme internet of porn?
Yes and no. I mean, there's still extreme stuff on OnlyFans. If you can think of a kind of porn, it's on there. If it's, as long as it's not illegal. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff on there. I think you're right in that there needs to be a conversation had. I think, like, you know, when you have sex ed and stuff, I think sex ed needs to be far more than put a condom on a banana and only learn about periods if you happen to have a uterus at the time that you were in school. Like, sex ed needs to go deeper than that and into relationships and sex itself and what that entails, and including porn, and talking about how actually porn isn't always, as you said, all that real. And you can still create porn that's not realistic or is strange. I've created that myself, but OnlyFans, I think, makes people more accountable for what they're doing. So it makes it easy for you to find an artist that does the sort of thing that you're into, or that you know is safe, that creates content that is more real. Weirdly, I think queer content creators are actually really good at that. In my experience, of creating like more realistic, I guess, adult films. But it's important to be able to tell the difference, I think, which is easier to do once you've had lots of disappointing sex, I think.
Josie, you said that amazingly. Ladies, I can't see. All I can see is really disgusting faces. Rachel, what do you think about porn? Do you think porn is... Sorry, you keep me laughing.
I'm a bit more worried and concerned about your nighttime stories when you've been put by your mother and father.
It is a little concerning.
I had Amelia Jane again, and the boys woke up at night. I didn't have anything like what you had, but that explains a lot of things. I think quite honestly that it's quite a heated thing. I'm not old-fashioned. I do see things. I do know what's out there, and I'm not wearing red lipstick ever again. But I think parents bring up the children, they know the rights and wrongs. Doesn't mean to say that sex is wrong. And I think if a child wants to, I'm going banging on about the confidence again, but if a child has confidence in their parents to be able to ask anything, so the parents have to be not cardboard cut out and it was wooden. They have to be more, as you say, fluid about their bringing up a child. And what are you laughing at? But
keep going, Rachel. Keep going.
To allow the child to be able to ask anything, make nothing taboo, or things taboo, but not talking about things like that taboo, and knowing the safe way to be. And most children would be comfortable in doing anything they'd see on a channel. Most children. It's only if you're comfortable when you get to a certain age to know you're right, to know what's right and wrong, to know rules and regulations about respecting other people's boundaries, and making the right choices for you and respect for others. And that can only be taught when you're being brought up. And so as long as you're not hurting anybody else and not doing anything illegal, then
you're making each other happy.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. But unfortunately, ladies, that brings us to the end of this week's Loose Leaks. Thank you for joining us this week on this very interesting hill climb journey we've had. Thank you for sticking with us and listening to our views and comments. Make sure you have your say. But joining me on the panel, Nicholas James this week, was Liza Humphrey, Josie Reese, and Ruby Red Lips herself, Rachel Penny.
Bye.
Join us same time, same place next week. See you soon. Bye bye.